off for Valparaiso University and Deaconess Hall in the fall of 1958. I was to enter my junior year of college and also the Deaconess women's community. It was wonderful. It was kind of like going to international youth gatherings but not having to have to go home after 5 days. You could just stay. It was all about formation. We worshiped together in the morning. We had noonday chapel with the university. We ate together in the evening, had evening chapel at Deaconess Hall, and then had evening prayers on our floor. It was sisters living together and laughing and studying and being shaped in Christ. I transferred in as a junior, and so even though I'd taken 20 credit hours each semester, the university made me petition to take classes without prerequisites. But aside from that slight inconvenience, I felt very welcome at Deaconess Hall. I would be there for 2 years, and the summer in between I did an internship in Fort Wayne at the offices of the Lutheran Deaconess Association. Pastor Krenz was the head at that time, and his mantra I learned to this day: plan the work and work the plan. However, he had a heart attack that summer, so I, as a college student and the secretary of LDA, were kind of running the place. But it was really fine because I got to work with incoming students and also actually encourage some students to come back who might not have had financial aid otherwise. I had 2 wonderful formative years at Valparaiso studying theology. I was a religion major and an education minor. Bert and I started going together in 1958. He would come over from Fort Wayne, where he was in senior college. We shared a sense of vocation. I remember one time the 2 of us joined a group that went into the south side of Chicago canvassing. I think that was our first taste of community organizing on the south side of Chicago. We cared about social justice, theology. We had a lot of things in common. Upon graduation, we were placed in our first call, simply assigned where we were going, directly to the congregation by Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. And so my first call was to Ascension Lutheran Church in St. Louis. Upon graduation in 1960, there I was, deaconess. I was consecrated as a deaconess in my home congregation, Bethlehem in Mason City, Iowa. And I was so thankful for those supportive people who had brought me so far. Burton participated in the consecration. Deaconesses wore a navy blue suit with a gold patch on the sleeve. The class before mine, the 8 women in that class, none of them married. However, in my class, 1960, all of us married. Now, we were not different women. The church had changed the rules so that we could marry. Britton and I had met in 1956, and we started going together 2 years later, but it would be a total of 6 years before we were able to get married. 2 years after I started my deaconess service in St. Louis, and after he finished his vicarage in New York City, 1962, because you see at that time, men in the seminary were not permitted to marry until they were almost finished with their preparation. And even then we had to get permission. He stayed on at Concordia and finished his degree and also did an STM. And during that time I also finished an MA degree in religion from the seminary. So marriage was possible, and we could live together, and I could serve and study. However, becoming a mother was another matter. When Burton and I adopted Mark in 1964, I received a letter from the Lutheran Deaconess Association saying, "Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service." I was done. I was retired at the age of 25. Now that I was a mother, it seemed incompatible that women could also serve in the church. Just as it never occurred to me that someday women might be able to be pastors, it never occurred to me to challenge the church's ruling about motherhood and ministry. So I completed my service at Ascension. I graduated from seminary and we adopted Mark the very same day. 2 days later, I was in the hospital with a miscarriage. And then we moved to Valparaiso just a couple of days later, where Burton would be serving with Lutheran Human Relations Association and teaching New Testament. So here I was, at home. My identity as a woman had totally changed. No longer a deaconess, suddenly a mother, at home with a 1-year-old. That was the first time, really, that I experienced some significant depression. However, when we moved to Valparaiso, the very first night we stayed in Deaconess Hall, welcomed by Edie Hovey, a friend to this day. Edie, a deaconess, also helped us celebrate Mark's first birthday, and I remember that we had Mark sleep in one of the dresser drawers from Deaconess Hall that we laid on the floor. So here we were. In fact, all 3 of our boys have always thought of themselves as sons of deaconess, someone who has committed her life to faith and service in Christ. This has been part of their heritage to this day. For 9 years, however, while I was home with the children, I continued to attend deaconess meetings, but I was off the roster.